Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from episode 93 of Life on the Rocks with your host, Connor LaRocque. Today's featured guest in the hot seat is Mr. John Arnold. John, how are you today?
Wonderful, thank you.
For anybody in the city of Greater Sudbury who currently doesn't know John, he's in charge of commercial development with Dalron, and he is also part of Optimus Brewery, which we want to really get into. First question I want to start off, it's always the best way. Tell us a little bit about yourself, John. Give us your story and your background.
Born and raised in Sudbury. Spent most of my life here until I was 17. Was an avid athlete during my school years. I ended up picking up the hockey skills and made my way to Toronto when I was 17. Played junior B hockey in Toronto, and fortunately my big goals were to get to an NCAA school, right? To play in the US at a big Division I school. Fortunately, I was exposed at I guess it would be a bantam age, your draft years, to a family that had spent years in NCAA hockey. And so I was exposed to it at a young age, so I really wanted to follow that, right? So really set my sights on that. Don't draft me, I'm not going to the OHL, go in college, and fortunately things lined up for me.
100%. And you were part of a Division I championship team.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of things come down to chance. A lot of things comes down to putting yourself in a position for success and allowing things to happen the way they're supposed to happen. My case was I took the long road. By turning down the OHL, it was taking a chance. There's no guarantees you're going to get your Division I scholarship, but you take risks. Those risks paid off by playing 2 years in juniors. Ended up with a pretty severe arm injury in my second year Tier 2 junior. Having a great season up to that point. I was one of the top leaders in the league in scoring, and then until I had my injury, at which point all my recruiting and scouting reports were kind of dead at that point. They were kind of, this guy's done, career's over. Fortunately, I was able to get surgery, rebound back. But what happened there was an interesting story, and this is this whole idea of perseverance and things ending up the way they're supposed to end up. After my injury, scouts left me. I was able to finish the year off playing in a cast, so my stats kind of tanked, as you can imagine. That summer, I remember coming home, speaking to my father in his office, and he said to me, listen, you're better than that. You're 100% healthy. Pick up the phone and call. At that point, I was actually going to Elmira College in upstate New York. That was Division II, not bad, but I still was not giving up on that. So he reminded me just to not give up. So I picked up the phone, made a few phone calls, called the Michigan States of the world. University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Michigan was my fifth call. Didn't know much about them, but one of my teammates was actually had a scholarship there.
Right.
Picked up the phone. They heard about me. They knew about me. They were actually recruiting me, but just because of my injury, so they sort of gave up on me. I told them 100% healthy. Luckily enough, they still had one forward walk-on position available. So this was a Wednesday we called. They said, well, why don't you come down this weekend? My father and I drove down on a Friday, did the tour, met the coaches, brought my SAT scores and my high school transcripts. Basically, by the end of that afternoon in that tour, they were basically saying, so do you want to come to Michigan?
Right.
Yeah. So, of course, I shook their hands and left there not really knowing what the hell just happened.
Right.
Driving home going, holy crap. No idea what I just got myself into. So by the time I get down there that fall, walk on the ice, it was a whole different level of hockey. It was the best program at the time in the country. Walking on, it's called a recruited walk-on.
Right.
Walked on, made the team, got my scholarship, and just kept building from there. And just happens that, fast forward 4 years, my senior year, we cap it off with a national championship. So when you kind of take a look, follow the storyline. It was a pretty cool way to get there.
100%.
So stars just aligned.
Oh no, that's huge.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those things where it comes into alignment. I want you to talk about having that championship mind state. Like, what was going through your mind as your father pushed you to say, hey, let's persevere. You can do better than that. Walk me through that process and what got you to that point to have a breakthrough.
So that self-doubt creeps in. So you get those episodes of depression. You get those episodes of now what?
For
right?
sure.
And so that fateful day when he basically grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and said, pick up the damn phone. You still have that self-doubt. But as you got talking to these schools and they were saying, yeah, I mean, you were top of our list. So your confidence kept building up to dial that next number, call the next school. And by the time you get to the 5th school, and as fate has it, I wanted to go to Michigan State University, the Spartans. Turns out I go to the University of Michigan, which are 2 in-state rivals, right? Like bloodbath rivals. We just laid it to them for 4 years in a row.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's pretty. Yeah, it's a pretty funny story. But I just the perseverance, the mindset, the don't back down, the keep challenging yourself, keep trying, and because you never know. Pick up that phone, you never know what you're going to find at the end of the line, right?
No, I know. And on that topic, as we're talking about, the old school way, and now, I mean, John, you guys just opened up a brewery amidst COVID, which is obviously a risk in a lot of cases. But I mean, talk about the concept behind Optimus Brewery. I want to hear kind of what you guys put together as a company. I mean, that in itself is difficult at this time.
Well, the story I just told you about the hockey, that there's something in there which kind of, I think, led me to when we started the brewery and coming up with a brand for it. I had to have optimism. I had to have a sense of believing in something and believing that I could do it. Otherwise, I never would have picked up the phone. You're not getting up every morning thinking I can't do it. You're waking up in the morning thinking I can do it. I'm optimistic about this day. I believe that something good's going to happen today. So that's what gets you driving forward and moving things. So I've been wanting to do one for years, for a number of years, since craft beer really started becoming something. I wanted to stay away from something geographical, wanted to stay away from something that was just about sense of place. I wanted to do a mindset, something that has no borders, that could, maybe one day become a bit of a lifestyle brand, we'll see. And whoever's listening, watching this, everyone I've talked to, when I explain how the brand came about, they all report back to me saying, yeah, you know what, I can't believe how many times I hear the word optimism, optimist. I'm optimistic about something. I mean, you hear it daily.
No, 100%. It's one of those things that I have a belief I lead with, that you cannot control the external environment. So things are going to happen. Earthquake happens, someone could pass away, but what you can control is that mindset and mentality.
Yeah.
I want to talk about education. I think it's important. So you went to a D1 school for multiple years again, and we're talking perseverance.
Yeah.
So you look at the traditional education system right now. So you take the university structure, where a lot of these people will go through the system and not find a job. What is your belief system on that? Do you think kids and younger adults still should go to university if they don't have a plan, or if not? And that's an open-ended discussion.
University, now that I've been through it, and I've been through a good chunk of my life to a certain degree, is not the end-all and be-all. You have some brilliant people out there that don't finish university, but they have an idea, they have a plan, they have something that drives them, that they're passionate about. University is all about experiences. Totally. It's about growing as a human being. It's about making mistakes. And I look at my 4 years, and my God, like the mistakes you make, and self-discovery that you really learn to appreciate when you're down there. You don't really know you're going through it until after, but you really get a sense of yourself when you get that experience. However, if you've got a different plan, I don't think it's the end all and be all, right? I think life teaches you a hell of a lot more than sitting in a classroom.
No, it's one of those things, and then when you actually get in the trench or the field, it's a totally different reality. And I just always want to know, I kind of want to pick your brain on that side, because it's one thing we're both invested in that self-education, but then also the other side where you're building connections.
And that connections is a huge part of it, though.
Big time.
Like, I mean, the one thing, and every school is different. Every university has a different alumni base, has a different depth of connection. But let's say University of Michigan, I mean, their alumni base is massive, and you can tap into that alumni base anytime you want. And there's people out there across the world that are extremely successful that they'll likely take your call if you explain who you are and where you're from. There's a good chance they're going to take that call. So that opens doors. Even if you don't know what you want to do, then yes, go get an education. You're going to find something there that might light a fire, or you're going to meet people that will open doors to a million opportunities.
No, 100%. What would your advice be to the younger generation? So the ones that are kind of confused, because there's a large majority, when you're on your phone at all times, things are distracted. We become like a ping pong table. Yeah. We're going back and forth. What would your advice be to help some of these younger students and individuals find clarity and kind of that passion?
Jesus.
That's a loaded
question. Yeah, I mean, everyone's driven differently. So, you always use sports analogies for everything, right?
Totally.
And it's like every kid you have to coach each kid differently. Not everyone can be held and screamed at. Not everyone can be coddled, right? You need something, a different tactic, a different style for every single kid. And I believe that in life as well. So there's something that's going to make you tick that's going to be different than me. I think for the younger generation coming up is get off your damn phone. Number one,
100%.
put the damn phone down and get some experiences.
Totally.
You're not going to get it through a phone.
No, you're right.
Through scrolling, right? So you got to put the damn phone down and get off your ass and go searching for it. You got to try a bunch of different things. If you don't have a passion that you're going to be chasing, you've got to try a whole bunch of things.
100%.
Definitely your mindset and how you approach different opportunities, I think, is going to change your perspective on those opportunities. Like some people will go into something with a negative mindset to it, like it could be construction, it could be a trade, it could be hospitality. If they go into it with their head in the sand and being pissed off and disgruntled and I've got to do this, I got to do that, you're going to be missing those opportunities. But if you go into something, even though you may not want to do it the rest of your life, go into it with an open mindset, go into it with an optimistic mindset that you're going to make the best of that opportunity. Because I can tell you, as a business owner, business owners and leaders will be watching this, and they will be finding the ones that want it, that have the personality that they may say, you know what, I'm going to tap that person for a promotion. I'm going to tap that person. I see opportunity in that person.
Totally.
You know, a good story about my son's baseball last night. Our coach, JG Rocques at the Baseball Academy, an amazing individual, has the kids do what they call Voyager jacks at the end of a practice. And what he's doing during practice that you'd never really know is he's watching for who's giving effort and who's sacrificing and who's making the best of their time on that field, right? And he's trying to. And so even though if one kid has an off day or just doesn't feel like putting the effort forward, he will see that. Or he will see the kid that's busting his ass and really trying to make himself better.
Totally. And
when he finds that person, he will get them to lead what they call Voyager jacks. And that's a show of respect, a sign of respect that, that effort was recognized, even though you don't think you're being watched.
100%.
Right? So you're being watched, and those leaders are looking for those next people that they can bring up the ranks and provide different opportunities to. So just because you think serving that table or digging that ditch or cleaning that toilet, if that's it, people are watching and how well you perform that duty, and that's going to open doors for you. So don't think that you're above anything, and don't think that you are going to go into a situation with a dead end, because there's no such thing as a dead end.
Oh no, 100%. I really like that mentality, because I think it's true, and it's one of those things that it's what you do behind the blinders, or when people aren't, you go quote unquote looking, will help you get to that next level. So I want to actually roll off this question. So I believe that in a lot of ways, I believe you hire based on character, and you can train the rest. Yeah. No, unless you're a doctor, right, or a surgeon, or in a field that needs a specific specification. Is that the same for you? If you have, several candidates, one could have, multiple degrees, but maybe not the energy and drive. How do you look for specific individuals? Is it the aptitude or the energy or a mix of both? Like, is there anything you notice specifically when hiring people?
Yeah, I think it's depending on the job itself, but I think it's a little bit of both, leaning towards attitude, personality, and how eager they are, enthusiastic, their mindset.
100%.
It all comes down to mindset, right? I mean, you can teach somebody a lot more who's willing to learn than somebody who's may have some skill already or experience, but is just not willing to learn or has a bad attitude.
100%.
Because that's going to tank your morale in your business, and
you're right,
and send you down the wrong path.
I think a fundamental thing, I remember I watched a speech one time at a conference from Jack Welch, General Electric, or I think it's General Electric CEO. Yeah. And he always said you want to create that environment where it's like a fun place to work in a way. Like it's where the party is, but not literally a party, but somewhere where people are engaged, they feel good. Can you talk about that a little bit? Workplace culture playing importance?
Yeah. Oh, it's significant. There's 100%. No question. I mean, people have to look forward to coming in every day, even though they may not have the utmost passion for what they're doing, and for some people it is a job. If the role that they are filling and they feel that way about their particular job, they have to feel motivated to come in other ways. And it could be their associates, it could be their coworkers, their managers, their bosses, the owners. A tone has to be set within the organization so that these people who may not be liking their job as much as you would hope they would, they're still going to come in with enthusiasm. They're still going to give you their best, and hopefully that it's going to rub off again down the line, right? So it's got to top down. It's got to roll. People got to be smiling. People got to be coming in with enthusiasm, even though sometimes it's hard. You still got to try.
They're invested. It's one of those things where people invest in the culture and the environment. I really like that approach because I think that's where retention is lost, where you feel as if you're being, it's one thing to work somebody like a dog, and then it's another thing where you can at least give them the freedom to show and create, something different.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to this for a second. So go back to Optimus Brewery. So talk about the environment and culture you've invested in there. And again, it takes a lot during a pandemic to be able to bring a company to and I've went there twice, just so you guys know, and it's a great restaurant. Check it out.
Well, you know what? Starting a business, as you know, it's a challenge.
Totally.
No question. And don't let the brand fool you. It's sometimes not as optimistic at the start of a business. With that being said, we're trying to impart that message and that culture, that mindset to all of our staff as well. Because even as owners who have to really face the challenges of a day, sometimes even with the brand Optimist, you're going in, fist raised and ready to go with the pom-poms on, but sometimes it's just like, oh shit,
100%.
My God, another problem we have to overcome.
Absolutely.
Right? So sometimes it's hard to remain optimistic even when you're running a business called Optimist.
Totally.
But at the end of the day, when you have that characteristic, that mindset, that personality trait that allows you to, overcome those challenges and put your optimistic mindset or hat on, you then go into challenge a day. You then go in to train your employees to maintain that same level of enthusiasm, that same level of service, that same level of optimism. And everybody's gonna have a bad day. That's what we say. Why when some of our branding messages that's going to be going out later, we're going to be saying, listen guys, it's okay to have a shitty day. Totally. Everyone has a shitty day.
100%.
Right? Sometimes it's just a lot less shitty when you're optimistic, right?
Totally.
Because you believe that you're going to come through it. You believe that you're going to have a positive outcome when it's all said and done. So if you're having a shitty day, we want you to come into Optimist and have a beer, have a great meal, have a laugh with some friends or family, in your bubble, of course.
Totally.
And then leave there feeling much better than when you came in, right?
Totally.
That's our goal. We want to share that with the community. We want to get that message across, that optimism really is, to me, it's one of the keys in success in anything in life, whether it be relationships, family, work, and anything else you've got going on. Without optimism in your life,
totally,
it's going to be very, very hard to be happy and successful.
100%. So transitioning off of that question, so a lot of times for people to create that breakthrough and have kind of anchor in that new mind state, they have to go through a significant event or a trauma. Do you believe that has to happen to condition yourself to get into that mind state, or is there certain things that you see as another way to do it?
No, that's one trigger for sure. Tragedy and or life-altering experiences certainly will have sometimes an immediate effect on people. But I made my choice when I was a teenager. You go through some ups and downs of anything, and the Norman Vincent Peale book, The Power of Positive Thinking, is one I got my hands on. I don't even remember how, but I ended up getting it in my hands. And I read it, and I didn't really have a life-altering event happen, but I recognized a certain place I was in, read the book, very timely, and right there and then I made a choice. And to me, that word there is a very big one. Everyone has a choice.
100%.
Right? And you just have to want it, right?
Totally.
I mean, because a lot of people, it's creating habits too, right? So totally. you got to choose to want it. Like, man, I want to be happy. I want to be optimistic, but I got to choose to. So when you get the negativity setting in, when you get the bad thoughts setting in, when you get failure, you have to choose and work at it, right? And you work at it until it becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, it becomes a hell of a lot easier and more natural for you to wake up feeling optimistic about the day, even when you know you're going to be facing a world of shit. that day.
Totally.
Right? It helps you get through it. It helps you see it, and you end the day going, you know what? That actually wasn't so damn bad.
No, you're right.
Right? So yeah.
I program my mind state to the point where I want to go into a workout. I want it to be the most insane workout ever. I want to go into the trench. I want my phone to be going off steady. Yeah. And I tell all my friends that one of my good buddies, one of my best friends, calls me, says, hey, I had a really hard day at work today. I said, I wish you would have had like 5 more calls on top of that, because it programs that mentality that you're unstoppable in a positive way, right?
Yeah.
I think a big thing too that contributes to mind state and your mentality in general is that idea of stepping outside of yourself. That it's not about yourself, it's about the cause and the mission you're on. Yeah. Do you find that's a big contributor to your success and being able to operate at such a high level?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I've again, podcasts and books, you read them, and they tell you to do certain things and write certain things down, and I'll be the first to admit that I haven't always followed a lot of the things that I've heard and read. You know, I don't think I'll ever, in my mind, get to where I think I know and recognize and can write down what my purpose, mission, vision for my life is, because I think it changes every day.
Totally.
And I just think because we're always in a state of growth, which I think everyone needs to be in a state of growth. How can I become better each and every day?
Right.
How can I become more patient? How can I become more positive? How can I become a better real estate developer? How can I become a better restaurant owner? How can I become a better marketer? You know, that sort of thing, right? You know, so I think if you know, if people can set on a mission and passion and vision early, fantastic. But I don't think that's the majority of people. I think the majority of people are going to continue to search for it their entire life, and that's fine too, because that's part of life, right? You've got to be always looking, always trying to strive to be better, and maybe figure out what drives you.
100%. No, I think that's huge. And it's just one of those things, because I look at a lot of peak performers and it can go both ways. Some of them maybe turn to religion, where it's God is their power and their force, whereas other people are just self-driven, where it's like, I want to help all these people. Someone like Mother Teresa as an example.
Yeah, well, those are huge extremes,
right?
And if somebody can recognize early that they have a passion for helping people, they have a passion for the homeless, they have a passion for animals, they have a passion for you know, whatever it is, you know, those are certainly admirable, and recognize that and applaud people who can recognize that early. That doesn't happen for a lot of people, right?
It's
true. The life's journey is about finding that, right?
No,
so working your ass off, but again, being open to recognizing when an opportunity comes across that you may not even think that you're into, but holy shit, all of a sudden you recognize it. I mean, I might want to give that a try. Then that could be your new passion. That could be your new purpose in life.
You're totally right. It's like, so for hockey, right? You probably had such a passion for hockey. You're a goal scorer. You move.
Yeah.
It was like me. So I wasn't the best. I was not a bad hockey player. My brother was better, but it was martial arts. That's what triggered it. It helped me lose weight. I got into that. I want to kind of change gears for a second. I have a really good question I think is important. So this changes a little bit about, it goes back to communication. So in a lot of ways, one of the most underutilized skills is your ability to sell. Like, and I look at selling as if it's not selling, you're helping people. And with any business, you have to be able to sell. So I want to talk about how did you in your career be able to get over that stigma of getting on the phone or having to put yourself out there and become a better person? Because you know it's going to do you better. But how do you get over that stigma of being a salesperson? Because as a business, we sell. And as a company, you have to sell.
Selling was, to be honest with you, not my strength. My strength was just relationships.
Right.
Being able to build relationships. I didn't know. What I learned is, even to this day, picking up the phone to call people is not my strength. It really isn't. Right. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just not, to pick up the phone and cold call is just not my strength. But if I've built that relationship with somebody, it becomes a heck of a lot easier to pick up the phone, because you're not necessarily calling to sell something. You're calling to continue that relationship. And usually that relationship leads to a sale, or leads to, in my case, a lease agreement, or leads to new development.
Totally.
And I think that alone is going to lead to better results, right? Just relationship building. And that's what sales is all about.
Totally, no, 100%. So this rolls into one of my last questions, John. I think it's important. Talk about the importance of getting involved in your community as a business, because I mean that in itself I find is a mission that's going to bring your company and your life to another level.
And even more so today.
100%.
Even more so today with the new consumer, and you know, again, in back to this whole Optimist. I'll go from the brewery back to Dalron a little bit, intertwined, and even with Brady Storage. Brady Storage, for example, Melanie there has led to annually 2 fundraising drives, backpack buddies, so raising, collecting school supplies for school age kids in need, and a winter clothing drive. So Brady Storage and Melanie have done an amazing job at integrating into the community and being part of the community, giving back. Optimus Brewery and Kitchen, same idea. We wanted to, again, with the brand representing the owners, but also wanting to give something to the community that, and it's going to be through collaborations that are coming up, something to believe in, something to think about, something to, if we can convince a couple of Siberians to be more optimistic about their life, about their community, they're going to give back more as well. And then, slowly but surely, the grassroots is going to get all these people contributing in their own ways to the community to make us better. Right, and that's always been, again, one of my purposes and missions. When I came back home was to really make this place cool, right?
Absolutely.
And then from a Dalron standpoint, same thing. With community initiatives, with donating to the hospitals and certain other charitable causes. We've always wanted to do our best to give back to the community as well, because they've been supporting us for 52 years.
Absolutely.
And so we owe it to the community to give back.
My final question, John, and I think it's an important one. If you were to look back on your life, you look back at your career in hockey, what would you tell your younger self? What would guide you if you had something that you could say? And I know there's probably 10 things, but what would you tell your younger self to help you, get to that level of a higher awareness and be better as a person?
I had great parents. I had great grandparents. I had a very supportive family, so they did not stand in the way of anything that I wanted to do. So I think that had a lot to do with me getting to where the opportunities that they provided me to take advantage of. Obviously you would. I could pick some little things that I probably would have done differently as far as training myself. I was a hard worker, and I think that's probably why I got to where I got to. Not necessarily as skilled as the rest of the people out there, but the work ethic was there. I think when I got to the University of Michigan, I probably would have done a few things differently when it came to some of the degrees I was taking, as well as some of the connections I was making.
Right.
All that being said, I came back in 1998 for a couple months because I ran out of money. Right. I was in the U.S. I was in Vegas. I was in California. I was in Texas. I was all over after my career was over, and I was having a blast. Right? And I'm never coming home.
Right.
I came home in '98, worked for the summer to make some money. I was prepared at that time to recognize that opportunity of staying home.
Right.
I was so closed off to that when I came home. And when I came home and I recognized what a great community we had and the opportunities I had here to help grow the family business, I jumped at it. I don't regret that for a second. A lot of people say, did you regret going to Michigan because it hampered your hockey career? I'm saying absolutely not. Not only did I win a national championship, I met incredible friends that are my friends to date, and obviously came away with a ring on my finger and some experiences that I'll never regret. Yeah, did it cut my hockey career short? Probably. All good, right? So it's hard to regret that, right? So I don't like to look back and say, what didn't I do or what should I have done here, because I'm here talking to you. Got an amazing family, got an incredible family-run business. I've got a damn brewery, for Christ's sake.
Love it.
So I think things have lined up pretty well.
Totally.
So, I don't want to look back with regrets.
100%, John. That's a great mentality to close off. Everybody, John Arnold. For anybody in the city of Greater Sudbury looking for a good night, you want to try good beer and good food, check out Optimus Brewery. You've done an incredible job. Honestly, I think more people in our community, in our life, and every day need to have that optimist mindset and mentality. Thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Anytime.
All right.